What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Super pumped. Got the first installation video today for the 2019 Ford Explorer. You may have guessed it if you've been following along. We're going to install the 20-inch LED light bar. So I don't really want to do a bunch of jibber jabber. It's late tonight and I just want to kind of get to it. I'm going to be installing it a little bit differently than how it's normally installed. So what I did today was picked up some stainless self-tapping screws, some stainless lock washers and regular washers. I don't know if we're going to use the regular flat washers or not because of the brackets that we're working with. The washers won't fit in here, but this gives it a nice surface for the lock washer to kind of squeeze itself into. And we have the rubber mounts here, so that will go against the metal surface. The rubber pads will prevent any weird rattles or vibrations. And we're going to install it here in this lower grill portion. So because it's a dual row or 2-row LED bar, it's about that size. So it fits perfectly here in the lower grill. So what we're gonna have to do is mount it up to the bumper bar, or the crash bar, some call it. And that's what the self-tappers are for. We can't use bolts. So self-tappers, screw it right up into it. Should be secured enough. We might do some, take some extra measures to keep it secure, but that should do it for us. So we're obviously gonna have to remove the front bumper. It should be relatively simple, but the other thing we have to think about is where we want to run the wire. So obviously it's going to be down low, and where I think we can do it is, let's back off here. Run it up through this portion here, keeping away from all of the moving parts and the hot engine components. I think we can run it under the little pinch weld here, along the fuse box and up and around, and probably find a grommet, a hole through the firewall, and take it into around the driver's seat somewhere. Now this is my wife's vehicle. If it was my own vehicle, I'd probably, cut out a small hole for the toggle switch to go in and mount it somewhere convenient on the center console, or under the steering wheel, on the steering column shroud in some spot. But as my wife's vehicle, I don't want to molest it or mess anything up for her. So I'll probably just keep it hidden alongside the driver's seat somewhere, to where we can access it easily, but not have to mess up any of the interior panels. So I think we're gonna get started. Let's do it. So I'm expecting this to be a bit of a tedious process. There are several bolts along the top of the bumper. On the underside, I think there's like 12 or 13 bolts on the underside. And then we have to remove this part, and I think there's something like 7 under here along the edge. Ugh, yeah, it's gonna be crazy. But anyways, let's go for it. 10s along the top here. And there's 2 plastic push rivets. There. 5.5 millimeter. These guys here. So there are 3 10mm bolts that hold the fender to the bumper, and they are unnecessarily long. They're not super hard to get to, but it's pretty tight on the arm. These little fender trim pieces just pop right off. See these little clips here? They pop right back in their slot. So I want to move these to separate, again, the bumper from the fender. And now we just have a million I believe they're 8mm bolts on the underside. There's sensors that are hooked up in here, so we gotta be careful when we pop this out, but hopefully she releases. Make good use of the old Q50 chair. Seat. So this, I don't want the bumper to lean too far and stretch this. This is the line for the washer fluid. And this stupid thing has washer fluid going to the front camera. Weird. But we have plenty of room. And now this is where I want to mount the light bar on the underside here. So we'll find the center. We'll find the center of it, and we'll install the brackets and get this thing wired up. I thought my DeWalt Cobalt drill bits for hardened steel would be able to penetrate the bumper bar, but they just couldn't. So I had to fab up these little brackets here to mount it to. Luckily, there were some threaded holes in the radiator support that I could bolt them to, and it worked out just fine. Then I added some zip ties just for some support because there's a little bit of weight in the light, but worked out pretty good.
I'm scared.
Just flip it.
Okay. It's not doing anything. Oh. Okay. Oh, it's colored!
You're on camera right now.
Oh. Look it.
It is an absolute nightmare trying to find a grommet to pass through the firewall in this vehicle. I had to take out the door trim pieces, pull up the carpet. I was able to find two. One of them, the very small one, was this one here, was the one I was able to use. You can see how small that hole is, and it's not straight down. It just comes through at an angle. So it was a nightmare, but I was able to get it. All right, geez Louise, finally got it routed. I had to keep it to the underside of the vehicle, keeping it away from all of the hot components. But there's just not enough length to go up through the engine bay and then come back down around. So I had to bring it along and kind of zip tie it to points on the top side of the subframe essentially, and or the cross member, and just keep it protected from the elements, and then bring it around to the front here. One point of advice: zip ties, long zip ties, and wire cutters are your friend. It was relatively easy to feed this one up and through. There's plenty of room. I'll zip tie it to a couple of key locations down below, but bringing it, we have tons of length, so just kind of routing it through here, zip tying it securely before we connect it will be key. Just to prevent cutting up trim pieces and all that, we decided we didn't want to do it. I had considered just putting it here or along the side of the center console here, but I think what I'm gonna do is just have the button kind of secured under the seat, so you can reach down and flip the switch when we want to, but it'll be hidden away. Oh, probably like this. Turn it right through there, and then you can reach to the front of the seat and press it. No big deal. Just as planned, the wires for the power I was able to bring right up through the engine bay following some of the other wires. Bring it around here underneath the pinch weld like I had planned. around the back side of the fuse box. I secured it to this leg here just for some extra support. Brought it back around here where there's still access to the fuse, and then connected it to the battery. The cool thing about this rough country setup is that the wiring harness comes already set for you. It's hooked up to the switch, and it's hooked up to the plugs, and it's covered in that nice mesh sheathing that you saw to protect it from the elements. So it's a high quality system here. No need for a relay for the 20-inch light bar either. It's just not required. I made sure to check with Rough Country, and they confirmed that. So the fuse is all you need. And coming around here to the coupler, you can see more examples of the quality. Really nice coupler with some gaskets inside, as well as the one gasket here between the two couplers, making it watertight, which is nice. You still want to keep it up and out of the elements as best you can, but you know that no water is going to be getting in there, and you know, it'd be protected by the bumper anyway. But nonetheless, high quality stuff from Rough Country. Didn't go quite as how we expected it. Had to get a little creative, but made it happen. Looks good. You'll see a link in the description for that light bar. It's not too bad of an installation as long as there's some mounting places. The most difficult part of the installation with this Explorer anyway was finding a spot through the firewall to get that wiring harness through, and then to route it and have enough length left over for hooking it to the actual light. Plenty of wire to get up to the battery or any power source, but other than that, relatively simple installation. The front bumper comes off quite easily on the Ford Explorer. It's probably different on other vehicles, but there's just a ton of bolts you got to remove, and of course they're all different sizes. I got a great deal on this 20-inch light bar from Rough Country, and their customer service is excellent. Great communication. They want to make sure you got exactly what you need and what you're looking for, so I appreciate all the help from Rough Country. If you are looking for a high quality, great priced light bar, check them out. A lot of good stuff coming up for this Explorer. We got some more work to do in the Q50, and I got some more surprises for you guys for the channel. So you want to stick around. If you're new to the channel, thank you very much for stopping in and watching. Hit the subscribe button right now if you don't mind, and we'll see you in the next video.